my second attempt on these two guys because my whole screen went black. I don't know how to fix it, but the whole screen goes black sometimes. So if I keep on doing it, could be like 100 times. But tonight, again, I'll be doing Andrew and Thomas Kokoraleis. So Kokoraleis' brothers are like the Chicago or Chicago Rippers or the Ripper Crew. They'll be I'll be talking about them, so and the whole gang as well. So there are a bunch of gangs that terrorize people over Chicago. That Robin and his gangs are organized crime group of serial killers, necrophiliacs, cannibals, rapists, you know, and everything you want to do anything. So hmm, the the group compares to Robin, Geach, and the three associates, Spritzer, and the two brothers of what I'm talking about. So they were suspected of murdering of 17 women or 18 women, one male, I guess, in a random drive-by shooting. According to one of the detectives who identified who was investigating the case, Geach made Manson looked like a Boy Scout. I believe that. A gang going first victim was 28-year-old Linda Sutton, who was abducted on May 23rd, 1987. 10 days later, her body was found in the fields of Villa Park, Illinois. Her body had been mutilated and left breast amputated. It was almost a year before the gang struck again. May 15th, 1982, they abducted Lorraine Boblowisk just as she was opening her real estate office. Her body was discovered 5 months later in a cemetery in Hills. In May 27th, they abducted Shu Mack from the Hanover Park's village northwest of Village Park. Her body was not found till 4 months later. 2 weeks after they abducted Mack, they picked up Angel York in a van, handcuffed her and slashed her breasts before throwing her out of the van. Still alive, York's description of the attacks failed to produce any leads. The gang did not strike again till 2 months after. On August 28, 1982, the body of Sandra O. Delaware was discovered in the bank of the Chicago River. She had been stabbed, strangled, and her left breast was amputated. In the September 8th, 31-year-old Rosa Davis was found in an alley and having suffered almost identical injuries as Delaware. On October 6, 1982, the gang shot 28-year-old Rafael Terredo, a drug dealer, and his friend 18-year-old Alberta Rosa, at phone booths in a random drive-by shooting. According to Spritzer, he was with Getch when the older man told him to slow down. Getch took two guns from his back and out of the car and told Splitter to stop at the car and then opened fire and on Toronto and Rosa, hitting both of them. Rosa survived and his injuries, and Toronto sustained his injuries at the hospital. Toronto was the gang's only male victim. At the same day, the gang committed the final crime. Robert Gets Stallone lured prostitute Beverly Washington into a car, offering her some money that asked for more than what she wants. She found by on a railroad tracks. In addition, the other injuries, her left breast had been amputated and her right breast was severely slashed. She survived the attack and was able to give descriptions of Gates and his van where the attack took place. The men were suspects in the disappearance of Carol Pappas, wife of a Chicago Cub baseball pitcher, Milt Pappas. She disappeared September 11, 1982. Her body was recovered 5 years later, and the death was ruled an accident. When Gitch was first arrested, he had to be released since the police had insufficient evidence to connect them to the crimes. After further investigations through police discovered that in 1981 he had rented a room in a motel with the three of his friends, each with them adjoining rooms. The hotel manager said they always kept on partying, and he thought that he saw there was a kind of cult in the rooms. So Robin Beach was first arrested on October 28, 1982, after his van was connected by police in the October 6th attack. Several days later, Gitch posted bond and was released. Police re-arrested Gitch on November 5th and then tracked down the other men, Edward Spitzer and the Kokoraleis Brothers. Each Spitzer and the Kokoraleis Brothers each was later indicted and ordered to be held on $1 million bond. Andrew Kokoraleis was arrested on November 7th, and he had Spitzer confessed to up to 17 murders. 3 days later, they were indicted and ordered held without bond. Thomas Kokoraleis was arrested on March 12th. When interrogated, he confessed that he and his other had taken women back to Gitch's place, what Gitch calls Satanic Chapel. There he had raped and tortured women and amputated their breasts with a wire garrity. I don't know what that is. So Kokoraleis went on to say that they would eat parts of the severed breast as kindly as sacrament, and that Gitch would masturbate to the breasts before putting them in the boxes. Kokoraleis claimed that once saw 15 breasts in the box. Each, the only member of the gang to maintain innocence of his murderers clue to, and he was due to lack of evidence. 1983, he was convicted of attempted murder and aggravated kidnapping, devastated sexual assault and rape, and for non-rape and sexual assault of Beverly, Washington. Each was sentenced to 120 years in prison. Before sentencing, Gitch, Judge Francis T. McMahon told him that only a devil would do these things, and an animal would not do these things a monster would do. He pointed out that he had left Washington for dead and lucky to be not on trial for murder. Gitch is serving his 120-year sentence in Danville Correction Center. His next parole hearing is October 10, 2042, where he would be 88 years old. 1984, Spritzer, in a bit of leniency, pleaded guilty to murder and in the deaths of Shamack, Rose Davis, and Sandra Delaware, and Raphael Toloto, as well as attempted murder and aggravated kidnapping and deviant sexual assault and rape. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. 1986, Spector was convicted of murder and aggravated kidnapping in the death of Linda Sutton. The prosecution sought at the death penalty, and during the sentencing phase, Spector attorney Carroll argued that he was immature, impulsive, and simulating, and was following the orders of a gang leader, Robin Gitch. She described him as a lonely person who would do almost anything for a friend. The prosecution described Stitch as a very weasel, every woman's nightmare, calling a gang cowardly weasel who roamed in packs, preyed on the women. Spritzer was sentenced to death in 2003. Spritzer's sentence was commuted to life in prison, including those other ones from Governor H. Ryan. Commutes to the sentences to everyone, death except for Andrew. Accidentally, Kokoraleis was covering Ryan's only execution. Oh, just over 2 months in his administration, Andrew was also the last inmate executed in Illinois, almost 12 years before Governor Pat Quinn signed legislation abolished the death penalty in March 9, 2011, and commuted 15 death sentences to life in prison without parole. 1985, Andrew Kokoraleis was convicted of murder, aggravated kidnapping, and rape, and death rate of and murder of aggravated kidnapping, rape, or death of Rose Davis. The prosecution sought the death sentence. During the sentencing phase, Andrew's attorney said that the client had been a follower, not an organizer, not in a prime mover in Davis's murder. The jury spared life. After deliberation for 90 minutes, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. On March 18, 1987, Andrew was convicted of murder and aggravated kidnapping in the death of Lorraine Bolorowski. He was sentenced to death on April 30th, 1987, and executed by lethal injection on March 17th, 1999. He declined the last meal. Andrew's last words were to be to the Borchers family, "I'm truly sorry for your loss, and I mean this sincerely." He then cited verses from the Bible to look of Exodus and Proverbs, after adding, "Repent ye, for the kingdom of heavens is at hand." Thomas Kokoraleis was convicted of murders and rapes in the death of Lorraine Bolorowski. He's reward as a reward of his detailed confession. Now, why would you want to detail? Why would you want to get a reward for a fucking murder? Something's gonna screw loose up there. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. On appeal, Thomas in prison without Thomas raped and convicted. Rape conviction is reversed, and he won a new trial on his murder conviction rather than face the retrial. Thomas pleaded guilty to Bolorowski murders in exchange for a 70-year sentence. Charges in murders of Sutton Linda Sutton were dismissed. Part of the plea agreement. Thomas was scheduled to be paroled on September 30th, 2017, but was denied release after a failed find approved place to live. He was released from prison on March 29, 2009. As of June 30th, 2019, Thomas lives at Wayside Cross Missionaries, New York, and Illinois. As an interview on a TV station, Thomas proclaims his innocence, saying, "Everybody thinks I'm a monster. I'm not a monster." According to the IPS Sex Offender Registry website of 2014, Kokoraleis currently resides in Illinois. At the time of his arrest, Thomas Kokoraleis was a painter and a non-criminal record. He was described as having a borderline range of intelligence with an IQ of 75. In March 1999, Robin Gidge's son, 18, David Gidge, was charged with the first-degree murder of a gang-related killing of Roberto Cruz, 35, on January 29, 1999, in northwest Chicago. Two other men, 19-year-old Richard Quell and 27-year-old Ruben Hernandez, were also charged of first-degree murder, and the trigger man was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 45 years in prison. He has a project parole date of March 2nd, 2044. Richard Quill, lookout as was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 30 years in prison. His parole date was March 1st, 2029. Ruben Hernandez, who planned and coordinated shootings and was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 60 years in prison, and his project parole date is December 12th, 2054, or no, 2059. All three men serving their sentences at Pontiac Correctional Center. May 25th, 2022, David Garrett was granted a new trial. Thank you, and I hope this is all good because I don't know, my screen keeps on blacking out. So, okay, thank you. You have a good night.